I'm a little worried because we've got a writer's strike going on, and my biggest concern is that we won't get as high quality films like this coming out in the near term. We've got the Writers Guild going on strike, so we have 11,000 plus writers. That is between movies and television who are no longer working. The first casualty here is the late night television folks. So they're done. They're off the air right now.
Yeah, I saw that. So I don't know. The Jimmy Fallon and all that straight away, right?
Yep. And I don't know how plugged in you were to what happened in 2007. What we saw was a huge advent in reality television. So we got more and more and more and more. And I'm curious if that's going to happen this time. There's actually already kind of a list building of stuff that's going to be impacted by this. So like one of the things is going to be the Lord of the Rings show. Did you watch that?
I did. I actually quite liked it. But as soon as I read the article that I think you're about to reference, where they're going to go ahead regardless, or they're going to go ahead without any people, script writers or anything on set, I can only assume it's because of the amount of money they spent so far, and it would cost too much to delay. But I was like, whoa, I'm not sure that's such a good idea. Maybe you should just pause the production. But
I mean, yeah, to your point, it costs a lot of money. So I guess the first question I would ask you about this is, let me set up one other thing before I ask you about this. So there are a couple of sticking points when it comes to this. One of the sticking points is the fact that they want folks who are doing streaming for broadcast and folks who are doing writing for streaming and doing writing for broadcast to make the same amount of money. And then the other sticking point is they wanted to limit the use of AI in these productions so that AI couldn't get writing credit, so that the studios wouldn't be using AI to basically do spec scripts for it. And this almost sounds like it's in conjunction with another sticking point, which was the idea of getting rid of a writer's room, which if you've ever watched a television show, these shows have rooms where there are a bunch of writers, this is exactly what it sounds like, that, work on shows as they're in production. And so the question I would have for you is, is there anything in there that sounds unreasonable to you? And what is it that you really think that the studios are afraid of here?
Yeah, it's difficult to say whether it sounds unreasonable. I totally understand about the disparity in pay. Was that the first point, John? I can't remember which order you put them in. The disparity.
Yeah. So here's a for instance.
Between streaming and
broadcast broadcast television, they make more money than they do in streaming. So like an example that I've seen is Netflix pays, depending on who you are, they pay significantly less than what a broadcast production would.
Gotcha. So I can understand that, because at the end of the day, they're bound to be putting in the same hours, the same effort, and they come with the same qualifications and certifications and skills, etc. And they should be compensated. But of course, in a free market kind of society, it's like, well, go right for the other company then, kind of thing. But I do understand where that's come from. That has merit. The AI one is a fascinating one, because I'm pretty confident that's already happened already, right? And the idea of getting AI to write a skeleton script or whatever you call it, and then have someone else come in and humanize it a little bit, for want of a better description, maybe that's not such a bad idea. Maybe from a devil's advocate point of view, we get some young up and coming writers that haven't, managed to get their foot in the door fully yet, and they get a stack of these AI scripts, and they get to practice their skills and soften them up and toughen them up and give them some human emotion, etc., whatever it is that they feel that AI can't provide, and then put that on producer guy's desk and see what comes out of it. It's very difficult it's very easy to see both sides. Like, AI can help people in this job, not necessarily be taking the job away. It could give us some more originality, or it could lead us down the path of the same mediocrity, the same shit. I really don't know, but from taking people's jobs away, I don't necessarily feel that that's the case. I think it could open up more prospective jobs for people, just not the same ones we're used to seeing. That's all. So I can see it from both sides in a very from a place of limited knowledge, etc., etc.
Okay. So I can play devil's advocate and I can see it both ways. I guess I do have a concern. I could see where they're coming from with the technology aspect, but I feel like with every advent of technology, we've had this same kind of freak out. Is this one so different than the ones we've had before? I don't know. And if I was able to tell what technology was going to do 10, 15 years from the future, then, I'd be a lot richer than I actually already am. One of the things I find kind of interesting about this whole debate is, so like David Zaslav, who we've had conversations before about, so the Warner Brothers CEO, who's in charge of this HBO Max and Discovery merger that's been going on, who a lot of his big mission right now is about cost cutting, right? We've heard him talk about trying to bring down the cost of these productions. He made $250 million.
Oh.
And so it's very interesting to me that he talks about bringing down the cost of production while he's making $250 million. How many writers could this feed? How many writers could this pay for? How many writers' rooms could he himself fund? And so from that perspective, that's much easier for me to understand than the technological implications of AI. And that's where I feel like, yeah, they're probably right.
Yep.
Just from that perspective, because he's literally making money off of their hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. And not just a small chunk of change, even not just a little bonus. That's life-changing money for pretty much everyone else in that company.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where it is. That's the easy place for it is for me to understand this story. So, one of the other thing that makes it kind of interesting is, at least on the AI front, you have folks like Joe Russo who have embraced this. So it's not an entirely united front when it comes to what's going to happen with this technology.
Sure.
So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to look forward.
I can't help but feel that it fits into the segment of embrace the technology and use it to create what you want more, give you more toys in the sandbox kind of thing, right? Like when special effects became easier and more cost effective. Now they're going to ruin films because it's all going to be special effects. And yes, we had Phantom Menace, but we've also had films that have greatly benefited from having this new technology, right? We wouldn't have got a film like Avatar, love it or hate it. We wouldn't have got that if technology wasn't being pushed forwards. And when you have directors and producers and writers that embraced that technology and said, right, what does this allow me to do now that I couldn't do last week? So although not exactly the same, I think if you get people like Russo embracing it rather than just immediately being scared of it because it's new and it's changed, who knows where it could lead us? It could lead us to more Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and less Love and Thunder.
So here's one thing that you could actually do with AI right now. You could probably say, hey, I want you to write Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 in the style of James Gunn. And ChatGPT would spit you out a script approximating that style, because that's out there. And so that's one of the fears that they have that I really understand. It's this idea that without even involving like someone like a Terry Pratchett, right? So Terry Pratchett wrote 40 plus Discworld novels. I could go into ChatGPT and say, hey, spit me out one of those in the style of Terry Pratchett, and it's going to go out there and scrub the internet looking for his style of writing and be able to give you something like that. And so
and it would be closer, right? Because there's so much content that you could absorb from that, right?
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I can see the concerns. I can see the valid concerns. At the same time, I don't know that I would want to foreclose the technology. I don't know what kind of limits they ended up putting on, like you talked about, CGI and things like that. And so it'll be interesting to go back and compare the freak out from the art industry, not just art, but production industry, that they had over this technology, and what limits, if any, did they put on it at the time, and try and do a comparison. I think it'd be hard to do that, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we have to see. Obviously, this didn't affect the stuff in the UK at the same time, so it was quite close to just before I moved here to Dubai, where I had more access and to US stuff via the streaming services that were available at that point. But I certainly do remember some of the stuff that came out afterwards that wasn't, quite as good as we'd liked it to be. So yes.
Yeah. A lot more reality TV for us in the future.
Is it? Oh, joy.
Joy. Let's talk about another thing that won't die.